This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. There's nothing sweeter than baking cookies during the holidays. With Prime, I get all my ingredients delivered right to my door, fast and free, no last-minute store trips needed. And of course, I blast my favorite holiday playlist on Amazon Music. It's the ultimate soundtrack for creating unforgettable memories. From streaming to shopping, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/campaign to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Welcome to Storylines Live, the only podcast that explores the meaning and the power of the most important story in business. The one that answers why somebody should buy from you, work for you, invest in you, or partner with you. This is the story that defines the very character and nature of an organization. At WordWrite, we call it your capital S story. In each episode, we feature guests who have great insights into business storytelling, who can share their experiences and key learnings to help you and your organization do a better job of sharing your capital S story to deliver remarkable results. Today, we're honored to have Josef Stetter, the CEO of the Celebrate Group, as a guest. I loved your bio, Joe. I got to read a little bit of it here. So for 16 years, Joe says he's incorporated humor, which I've experienced, and hopefully we will today in this episode, energy, passion, and self-expression in his personal and professional life. Changed careers 9 times. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit. Jobs 18 times. The Celebrate Group, his clients have included Deloitte & Touche, Acon Construction, Tata Consulting Services, Canon, Aviva, Skechers Shoes, more. He's helped more than 11,000 people, I think it's up to 12 now, Joe, find a job they love with a 90% success rate of a job that they will love and stick with. What we want to talk about today with Joe is how he works with employers as well. In terms of storytelling, one of the most difficult things that we see in our work is that when it comes to the war for talent, companies aren't sharing their story as well as they possibly can, not only to attract talent, but to retain it. So I'm really, really excited, Joe, to have you with us on this episode of Storylines Live. But before we move forward, anything I neglected to mention in your bio that you want to highlight for our audience?
I think you've done a great job. There's always more things to add, but my ego is boosted enough. So thank you for that, Paul, and thank you for the amazing introduction.
You're welcome, my friend. It's really great to have you here. Joe, we always ask our guests about their capital S story. We want to know, of the 4 questions that I described in the introduction, which of those is the most important to your organization right now? Getting people to buy from you, work for you, invest in you, or partner with you?
I think I'm going to say the last one because I'm transitioning the Celebrate Group to an AI platform. And so AI has become kind of like the introduction of the .com revolution 25 years ago, where people seem to be slapping the word AI without understanding fundamentally what it is. And so you have a lot of experts, so-called, in the HR world that are going, oh yeah, we do this, we do this, we do this. And, my CTO taught me a great way to understand if people understand AI. He said, open a chat and create 3 different chats. The first chat, you're going to tell the chat, you're Socrates, and everything that you do is based on morals and ethics, right? The second chat, you're Machiavelli, and the end justifies the means. So get the results by any means necessary. And the third, don't put any parameters. Now, he says, now tell your chats that you need to downsize 20% of your workforce. So Socrates will find the most moral and ethical way to do it and kind of go, you know what, this person is 75 years old, maybe they should retire, and trying to find the best solution possible. Machiavelli will give you ideas on how to fudge your numbers, lie, cheat, and depending on how unethical you are, even kill your people in their sleep without getting caught.
Right.
And if you don't put any parameters in at all, you're letting ChatGPT or Microsoft's version of AI control the data. And so if the ethics standards change or anything changes, your company collapses from within. And there is a real example of a company that built an AI to prevent people from being anorexic. The problem is that they didn't put any morals, ethics, or parameters in how the data was collected. And all of a sudden, bad data came in, and the AI started teaching people how to become anorexic.
Yes.
So what's happening now with a lot of companies, and it goes to what you said in terms of the wording, is that they're using AI to go generate for me the best story, the best message. And that personal experience, the personal connection, is completely gone. And if I may quickly steal from Guy Kawasaki, who was the evangelist for Apple when it first came to market, he used to say, executives go to retreats and they spend a week coming up with the perfectly worded mission and vision. He said, go to Burger King. Ask the manager of Burger King, what is the mission and vision of Burger King? Unless there's a plaque right in front of them, chances are they won't know it. And so he says, create a mantra, 3 or 4 words, and then make sure that your leadership practices those words. Nike has just do it, right? Google's, mantra is don't be evil, for example, right? But it's a level where if you want people to buy from you, to partner from you, to invest in you, whatever it is, right? It's not enough to just go, let me put it into an AI and spit out a story for me.
Right.
If you don't spend the time to build the foundation of what are your values, what is your expertise, what is your, unique proposition and so forth, you're doing what everybody else is doing. In the world of resumes, one job posting on Indeed gets between 350 and 5,000 applications. Most companies look at the first 100. Now, if you go to ChatGPT and say, write me an engineer resume, you're going to get a cookie cutter, typical engineering resume. That resume is not saying, this is why Paul is great. It's saying, this is what engineers do. That's the separation.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's great. So I take it that your version of AI is more like Socrates.
Indeed.
And that what you're trying to do really is scale what you're already doing.
Correct.
In the real world, right? That's
Yes.
great. Yeah. Joe, before we started rolling the recording today, we were talking about this topic in general and your story and how you're going to be talking to investors about the AI iteration of the Celebrate group. And you mentioned that the story is really that the way recruiting is done is broken. And I'm just wondering, how does your personal story, what is it about you as an individual that led you to tackle this mountain, this huge issue of recruiting being broken?
So there's a few things, and here's what I'm going to say. I've had experiences of both, when I've switched careers 9 times, that I had to show that I have transferable skills, that I have the ability to perform from a call center to a sales job to operational job and can lead a team. Okay, so I went through it. I've also kind of looked at and spent 30,000 hours to understand how job finding works. In a sense that, for example, in 20 years of recruiting, I've never met a single candidate that says, listen, I'm lazy, I'll show up late, none of my work will be any good, and I really hate people. Please hire me. Not unless you're related to somebody in the company or having an affair with them that you might be able to get away with that.
Goodness. Yep.
Now, we've been taught to say that we have excellent communication skills.
Right.
Has anybody measured excellent communication skills? If I compare myself to Les Brown, who's made hundreds of millions of dollars as a motivational speaker, I can say, compared to Les Brown, I don't have excellent communication skills because I haven't made the same amount of impact that he has.
Yes.
However, I teach public speaking. I
Right.
teach communication. I've gone through the Toastmasters program to learn the art of avoiding filler words like and like, and really concising how I message things. So what's excellent communication? I've met plenty of people that have horrible communication skills, but are gainfully employed. Why? You also have to understand, and this is where part of what I do is culture, because as the world is becoming a hodgepodge of cultures you have to understand that there's behavioral differences, there's communication differences.
Yes.
So for example, people from the Middle East are very loud, they're very direct, they're very in your face. Just because they're loud does not mean you're in trouble. It's just the way that they communicate. In
Hmm.
fact, by arguing with you, that's how they can confirm that you have logic, because if you're passionate and you kind of respond to them, it creates a conversation. Whereas again, if I use, because the world's using them, people from India, for example, it is very common for men to wear up to, let's say, 10 rings on their fingers. And I
Right.
know that some of those rings are for religious purposes, some are status, some are, and they have significance. But in Western society, if somebody shows up to an interview with 10 rings on their fingers, the first reaction is, am I interviewing Mr. T? Kind of, so understanding and bridging that culture. And unfortunately, we're in a position right now where a lot of companies preach culture because it's become a buzzword, but they
Right.
don't understand it. So if I
Yes.
may share kind of a quick story or long story, whichever you would like.
Let's go with the quick version.
Right. So I'm a big kid at heart. I
Yep.
love Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays, dressing up and so forth. If a company says, let's have a Halloween party, and none of the executives dress up, it
Yes.
sends a lip service message that says, yeah, yeah, whatever, do it, but we don't care.
Hmm.
Right? So even if an executive has meetings all day, come in for 15, 20 minutes in a dollar store mask,
Yeah.
take hands of people that actually invested in dressing up, acknowledge them, maybe take a picture or two for the intra web of the company, and
Hmm.
then take off your mask and do your meeting. But that 15 minutes is the difference between I trust you and I'm going to follow you versus you just gave me lip service. And so I'm going to do just enough not to get fired, but I actually don't care about working here.
Wow, that's a great example, Joe, and I appreciate you sharing that. You know, for us in the work that we do, so much of this in terms of attracting the right talent to the organization and keeping the right talent, and we saw this especially during COVID, when there was this really I know there's a continuing war for talent, and we'll talk about that, but it was really an acute situation. And there were crazy competitive salary offers, benefit offers, and a very interesting thing happened that we saw was that while those things are certainly important, that people were looking for organizations, and you mentioned culture, to us at our firm, it's the story that begins the conversation about the culture. And I'm just wondering, in your work, what is your definition of storytelling? Where does it fit into the work that you do?
So again, storytelling is understanding why a business exists, let's say, right? It's
Yes.
not like, yeah, every business exists to make money, fundamentally speaking. Bill Gates has a non-for-profit that has, I don't know, $150 billion in it, but he still does fundraising every single month. Why? Because he has a mindset that once he passes, there will be enough money in his foundations to create a legacy of impact for generations, for
Right.
example.
Yes.
So understand that it's not, okay, we are the best widget or we're this. It's, why is this business helping? Why is this business making a difference? You know, as for example, a resume whisperer, I'm definitely not the only experts that writes resumes in North
Right.
America. I wish I was. Hey, would be a multi-billionaire, but I'm
Keep me
not.
busy though too.
But here's the thing. When you listen to experts, you want to choose someone that's, for example, if you are female or identify as a female and you want someone who's female, I respect that. You want someone who is of a cultural or ethnical background similar to you, great.
Right.
But what makes me unique is to go, look, I've been in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I built my recruiting firm from zero. I got global clients as my clients.
Right.
I've been a generalist in recruiting that can find what people can't find, because I don't do what everybody else is doing. I don't post jobs
Mm-hmm.
anywhere. I headhunt. It's an older skill. It's, going
Yeah.
back to those values that kind of happened after World War II, where you took ownership. It is amazing to me when I speak to organizations how much they're like, well, it's that person's fault. It's that fault. And there's no ownership of, this is why we are. Like, you take any business, right? Not that I'm a connoisseur in any of this, but let's say coffee,
Yeah.
right? Why did Starbucks become so successful? Statistically speaking, Starbucks buys the cheapest, worst coffee in the industry, but they've marketed brilliantly the fact that they cook it 3 times in order to make the coffee taste better. Because
Mm-hmm.
if they didn't cook it 3 times, you would not be able to drink it. Right. But here's the thing. When Starbucks came to market, they created an experience. They
Yes.
created an opportunity for you to come, to sit, to relax, to have the Wi-Fi, to have,
Mm.
a comfortable chair to do your work. That's why it has exploded so quickly. At
Yes.
the end of the day, I would say a very small of a percentage of the population is that astute, whether it's a Dunkin' Donut coffee or a Starbucks coffee, to the level of quality of coffee, right? But you have your go-to places because they remember you. They do a little bit extra, like if you like a little bit of cinnamon, they give you that a little bit extra. Whatever it is, that's the reason you go back to the same location. It seems that, especially with the explosion of AI, we're getting less and less of that and more of the generic, we're a great company, and we're this. So, like, when I speak to my clients, like, I just mentioned to you at the beginning before we started recording that I have a client in Atlanta right now that's a therapy center.
Mm-hmm.
My first question to her was, what do you do to show you appreciate your people? Right? I don't care about the job descriptions. Like,
Right.
they're pretty standard. What do you do to take care of your people beyond salary? And then she started saying, oh, we have like cultural potlucks in the office. We do, like, I bring in massage therapists and everybody in the office gets massages. And I'm like, those are the things that people care about
Right.
in terms of working for you. So understand that today, with social media and the explosion where, let's say, a website like Glassdoor,
Yep.
employees go and say what their experience of working for a company is. If employees are saying, don't work here unless it's a horrible environment, you're setting yourself up for failure. And as much as you can have social media experts that can erase some of these negative comments, they can be found. Right. So because, like, I can tell you, I've had situations where I've had really bad experiences, and I posted it on Google, I posted it on Glassdoor, I posted it on this because I was that angry. Right. So as much as a company can search and find out these bad reviews and limit them, the reality is it exists. And
Yes.
so if companies don't take the time to go, here's why we care. When you hear the banks are making $4.3 billion in revenue per quarter or whatever, and you're going, okay, my fees have tripled in the last few
Mm-hmm.
years. Why?
Yep.
Right? What have you done for me? Now, if you own a business account and there's certain perks as a business owner, fantastic. That's why you're staying with that bank. But if nothing is changing, what you're seeing is people go, okay, let me go to the credit unions, because at least with the credit unions, there's an intention right now to take
Right.
care of. So this, I think, ties in because companies that preach corporate culture but don't actually follow through on it, with the exception of banking and insurance, are seeing the repercussions of their actions,
Mm-hmm.
right? There was a movie called Too Big to Fail, right? When the market crashed kind of in 2008, and the banking system went to the government and said, oopsie, lots of bad debts. We need $900 billion. And the
Right.
government gave it to them. And then 5 months later, when the CEO said, we work really hard, we deserve a $500 million bonus for our work, they went back to the government and said, oopsie, all the money ran out. We need another bailout, right? Unlike the automotive industry, that when they took their bailout, they actually implemented it to make drastic changes so that they can re-energize, reinvent the automotive industry and get people excited about it again, kind of thing, right? So it's a mindset difference. And so, it's connecting to, other than the money, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Other than, your currently reputation or whatever, right? But what are the things that you did going back in the history of it that built your reputation? Are you still doing that, or did you cut that out? Did you kind of cut corners along the way? And so how far removed are you from the initial value systems, right? You have a mission and vision. How does your leadership demonstrate that to their employees? Not to the market that's buying from them, but to their employees, the people that actually are the front line of your business. A show like Undercover Boss, one of my favorite shows to watch. I love at the end of the episode where every executive goes, oh my God, I should speak to the people that work here. I might get some insight. You think?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's
That's
a level
that's
like that.
really good. That's good, Joe. I really appreciate that. And we want to dig a little bit more into that. Folks, you're listening to Storylines Live with Paul Fariga and my guest, Joe Stetter of the Celebrate Group. We'll be back right after this message.
Way to eat a tea. You're listening to an ad for PC Game Pass. Want new games on day one like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle? How about living out your Sims life with EA Play? We're talking high-quality PC games all for one low monthly price. We got you. Learn more at xbox.com/PC Game Pass or click the banner. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle available December 9th, 2024. Game catalog varies by region and over time. Okay, that's the ad. You can go back to doing whatever you were doing now.
Folks, you're listening to Storylines Live. I'm Paul Fariga, your host. My guest this time is Joe Stetter, and we are talking about the capital S story, the one that stands above all the rest in any organization because it answers 4 fundamental questions: why somebody would buy from you, work for you, invest in you, and partner with you. And in Joe's case, he is an expert as a resume whisperer, as he described it earlier, in understanding that combination that so many organizations fail to unlock of why people are interested in working for an organization and why they continue to work for an organization. We want to talk a little bit more specifically about what Joe does at the Celebrate Group. So, Joe, can you give us a sort of a short description of how you help your clients when you're working with an organization, an employer?
So I match the technical skills. I put my candidates through multiple personality assessments to understand their values and how they operate or think. I help companies understand how or what motivates employees so that they can customize engagement strategy for each employee. And through that, create culture.
Yes. Yes. And you talked a little bit earlier in the episode about culture, but give our audience a sense of why that culture is so important in terms of attracting and retaining talent.
So I'm going to give you a quick example. Zappos was known for having the funniest, cool commercials, but everybody at Zappos lived and experienced that, right? So it's okay to be that culture.
Yes.
Own it, right? If you're like an engineering accounting firm or it's business professional, don't say that you're a fun company and then do nothing fun.
Yes.
Kind of thing. So this is where the lip service comes into effect, where there are 8 different types of cultures that you can apply to a company, and you can have 2 of them that dominate the behavior. But if you've decided these are the 2 that guide us, make sure that everything that you're doing, from the leadership all the way to the mailroom, is consistent. So you say that you care about your employees. What are you doing that you care? Are you organizing hikes? Are you organizing fun activities for employees to bond? Or it's like, yeah, we do this. It's on our website. We have a few HR policies. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's walking the walk more than
Absolutely.
talking the talk, right, Joe? What is it that gives you the greatest satisfaction in what you do?
I'm changing the world, one company at a time.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that, my friend.
Look, it's a legacy of knowing that I mattered because I made
Yes.
a difference. Right now, there's 160 million people that need my help in terms of job seekers in North America alone, right?
Wow.
Turnover is costing $1.4 trillion a year, trillion with a T, right?
Me.
So if I can kind of go, hey, my clients, let me show you what you need to do that will create, just like your company, Paul, you guys focus on the story. I
Yes.
focus on cultivating the people. Once the people are cultivated and you start planting the correct seeds, you're going to build trees where everybody that comes into you knows what to expect working for your organization.
That's great. Joe, this is one of the most overcrowded professions. Everybody thinks they can do this themselves, or there's so many people out there claiming to be career coaches, et cetera, et cetera. What makes you different from the organizations you compete against?
I think differently. So I'll give you a quick example. I
Yes.
just had to find a regulatory and compliance salesperson for the banking industry, which in itself is a needle in a haystack. I
Yeah.
looked at 1,000 LinkedIn profiles, and again, I don't post.
Right.
650 of them had their title, the years of work, and the name of the bank that they work for. No actual information on what they do, how they do it, when they did it, how good they are at it, the key thing, right? And no technical skills that relate to their industry or job. If you think I have the time to message 650 people, go, are you interested? No. So I go, okay, let's cut all that out because you're not giving me information. Then I looked at 100 resumes that excited me because they had details, they had results in
Yeah.
their profile. I
Yeah.
interviewed 20 people, and because I match culture, I asked them specific things about behaviors and culture. I
Mm.
sent 8 candidates to my client. My client said to me, if I had the money, I would hire all 8 of them. That is how good you understood my business, right? Because I very hone in so that when I get a job order, I offer services this way. 2 people that have all the technical skills or most of the technical skills, like for a little of the personality or character. Two
Yes.
people that have some of the character and some of the technical. And 2 people that fit perfectly in terms of culture and character skills, but are very junior or not necessarily have all the technicals. If I didn't hit the bullseye in the first round, based on the feedback from the client, and the feedback from the candidates, I kind of know what happened in the interviews to hone it in and go, next time I'm only going to send you 3 and you're going to hire one of these 3 because I know what you're looking for.
Well, Joe, that is great. I was going to ask you for a client success story, and there you go, folks. That's a great client success story. Joe, if our audience is interested in connecting with you, where can they find you?
So I'm on all social media platforms. I'm most active on LinkedIn. TheCelebrateGroup.com is one of my websites. JosefStetter.com is one of my websites. And for those of you who are having a hard time with my name, think of the word stutter, but instead of using a U, put an E. So Stetter. I'm the only Joe Stetter in North America. So it's nice and easy.
There you go. Yeah, yeah. Those of us who have seemingly short names, guilty as charged, Your Honor, have all these devices to help people remember our names. And I will tell you, I am the only Paul Farriga in North America. So I feel your pain, Joe. I really do. Joe, it's been a great honor to have you on this episode of Storylines Live. So much great information, beneficial, I think, to employers and job seekers alike. Thank you again for being here. And thank you to all of you and our audience for listening to this episode of Storylines Live, the only podcast that explores the power and the meaning of the most important story in business, the one that answers why somebody would buy from you, work for you, invest in you, or partner with you. We'll see you on our next episode.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Hennika Watkins-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Hennika, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennikawatkinsporter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.